This is NTV.
Good morning. Thank you for making time for your world. My name is Gladys, Gachanja, and as you can see, we are not in studio today. We are out on location, to be specific. We are in Kiambu County at the home of Mama Bobo. She is a chef who will be hosting us today in her home as we try to explore various Kenyan foods and how you can spruce them up, because let's be real here. We are living in tight times. I'm talking about the impact of COVID-19 that has impacted on our pockets, and also that means perhaps there are some foods that are making it to your plate more often than not just because you need to survive. You know what I'm talking about. So how can we ensure that we spruce them up, spice them up, ensure that we enjoy them and not get bored, especially when it comes to the kids? Well, we'll talk more about that even as we explore a few Kenyan dishes. And remember, you are also welcome to share with us your own experiences with Kenyan foods. And I will pose that question of the day in a moment. For now, here's what else you can expect.
Our hope is that the family will be able to come to its senses.
Zimbabwe reacts to a court's decision to authorize the reburial of former President Robert Mugabe.
What is being shown is that these variants can actually cause reinfection.
Experts are reading a downturn in the COVID-19 infections and positivity rate, which could be positive news in terms of how Kenya is managing the virus. As I mentioned, today we have a masterclass in cookery, special focus on how to spruce up your Kenyan meals on a budget. And elsewhere, Belgium creates a rubbish highway for flood debris. Thank you once again for joining us on Your World. As I mentioned, today we're having a masterclass in cookery, special focus on how you can spice up that Kenyan meal or those Kenyan meals that you love so much. And at times, you don't have the time to do so, and also you're doing this on a budget. We shall consider all those things as we think about the budget, the nutrition, and of course, making sure that the food is palatable. As I said, we are in the kitchen of Mama Bobo. She is a chef, and as you can see, there's some food that's already cooking here, and I'll let you in on that in a moment. But even as we think about spicing up, sprucing up our foods, that question of the day to you is, what are your favorite Kenyan meals and how do you spice them up? What are your favorite Kenyan meals and how do you spice them up? Talk to us. That hashtag is a new normal, and you shall be part of this conversation even as we learn from each other. But before we get to that, there are some stories that are making headlines around the world, and As Kenya braves through the fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, records currently suggest that the infection rate has gone down with a recorded positivity rate of 6.9%. Now, this comes as the country observed an upward trajectory throughout the fourth wave, steered by the spread of the Delta variant. However, with an increase in hospitalization and oxygen amongst patients admitted in the critical care units, the number of fatalities is still a concern.
The fourth wave, which initially led to increased hospitalization across the country, seems to be easing out, at least according to the latest report, which is now showing a decline in infection cases.
The hospitalization have also reduced, but they're still fairly high. Remember that hospitalization tends to lag behind. So when you have new infections being tested and being revealed, that is an indication of community transmission. Now, what happens is as people get infected, more people get to hospital, and it will take about a lag of about 2 to 3 weeks. So the peak hospitalization tend to lag behind the peak of the new infections.
Even so, the number of deaths among the elderly seems to be on an upward trajectory, with many having underlying conditions and vaccine apathy among the set target group.
But look at the age group of 50 to 59 and those who are more than 60 years. The rise is exponential. The people who are more than 50 years and above account for about 25% of the caseload. Yet in terms of mortality, they account for 76% of the deaths. And this is
regardless of the situation, whether people have been vaccinated or not, the people who are over 50 will still remain the most vulnerable. Remember, even with vaccination, there'll still be what we call breakthrough infection.
The number of patients on supplementary oxygen in ICU sharply increased during the April 2021, during the third wave. After that, a sharp decline, peaking again during the fourth wave.
because of increased transmissibility of the Delta variant, which is the main driver of this fourth pandemic, and therefore you expect the number of cases of patients admitted into the facilities to increase.
I think in most of the urban centers where we have most of the COVID cases, most of the hospitals now actually have oxygen. And this also coincides with the decline in the number of cases. But if we are to get another wave similar to the third wave, then I don't think we have adequate capacity.
Data according to the Ministry of Health states that Nairobi County still has the highest attack rate of 2,245.3 per 1,000 population, followed by Mombasa County at 1,269.6 per 1,000 population, while the country attack rate averages at 508.3 per 1,000 population. Kenyans have been urged not to drop their guard. Therefore, the set government measures are still in place. The Ministry of Health has indicated that it is studying the variants of concern. The Mu variant that reports indicate could escape the vaccine. Helen Aura, NTV.
And still staying with the impact of COVID-19, experts are reading a downturn in the COVID-19 infections and positivity rate, which could be positive news in terms of how Kenya is managing the virus. Now, if the country sees a sustained decline in the positivity rate below 5%, the economy may further be opened and restrictions lifted, as is the case in South Africa today. Eunice Omolo looks into some of the lessons Kenya can learn from South Africa, the worst hit on the continent by the virus.
In the past few months, South Africa, which accounts for over a third of total COVID-19 infections and 40% of deaths related to the disease on the continent, had seen a severe third wave of infections over the past month, spurred by the Delta variant, but that has recently been waning. As a result, South Africa has lifted off some of the restrictions that have been put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
Now, in Kenya, on the other hand, with our fourth wave, the numbers are continuing to go down, but our positivity rate is still high. It's still above 5%. And although we are talking about a comparison of maybe 500, 600 cases compared to maybe 1,000, but we are still not quite there yet. So I think the lessons that we'll have to pick from South Africa is, although they too have not vaccinated more than 10-15% of the population, I think for our country, if we hit below 5%, and if the numbers actually go down below 500 cases a day at the same number of testing being done, then perhaps we might be able to say the government can start looking at easing the restrictions.
A rise in the number of people who tested positive for COVID-19 meant here was a passive immunity that likely has played a key role in reducing the surge of COVID cases in the country. The vaccination drive too played a role in ring-fencing the prevention of the chain of infection at the community level.
I think there's a lot of data which is showing that in many of these African countries, including in Kenya, in South Africa, more than 60% of households have actually been exposed to COVID, which means we have some level of immunity that was not there compared to the first and the second wave.
For Kenya to achieve similar herd immunity, it will either be through more people being infected or more getting vaccinated, and to ascertain that, it will be done through antibody tests.
Previous infection does confer immunity. And if you have more than 70% of the population having immunity because of previous infection, that can be termed as herd immunity. However, with COVID, things have really changed, particularly due to the Delta variant. And now we are hearing about this new variant. Now, what is being shown is that these variants can actually cause reinfection.
So far, Kenya has recorded a decline in the number of people testing positive for coronavirus. And despite vaccine apathy, many more Kenyans have been turning up for the vaccine drive aimed at vaccinating 10% of the population by the end of the year.
When people are having immunity, whether it's because of past infection or because of vaccination, it means that the virus is not going to spread rapidly in a community when there is a surge. In other words, the surge will not be quite rapid and quite high because the number of people who are infected previously and have immunity, or the number of people who have been vaccinated, they break the chain of transmission.
Going by the World Health Organization standards, if Kenya were to sustain a positivity rate of 5% and below consistently for at least 2 weeks, this could translate to further easing of restrictions owing to increased herd immunity. Eunice Omolo, NTV, Nairobi.
Now, elsewhere, people in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, continue to react to a court's decision to authorize the reburial of President Robert Mugabe from his home village to the capital against the family's wishes. Mugabe was buried in his rural home village of Kutama, about 90 kilometers west of Harare, in September of 2019 after weeks of wrangling over his final resting place.
It is unfortunate in any way that, matters involving the former president, an icon of the party, a liberator, our leader for 37 years, have had to take this way, which is quite unfortunate. Our hope is that the family will be able to come to its senses together with the traditional authorities there to ensure that the president, the former president, and our icon, our liberation icon, Comrade Allergy Mugabe, rest in peace.
So back to that conversation of the day. Just let me remind you the question of the day to start with. We are asking you, what are your favorite Kenyan meals and how do you spice them up? And I'm talking about you love it, but at times when you eat it the same way, you get bored. So what is it that you do to ensure that you spruce it up? And especially when you're dealing with kids, you know how they can look at you for, Mommy, we had this last night and the night before. What is different about it now? So what is this that you've had to adapt now that we're living in tough economic times and perhaps our menus have reduced, but we still have to think about the nutrition and also think about the budget when it comes to our meals at home? Well, this morning we are having a conversation on how to do this and literally talking about sprucing your everyday meals on the go, because another factor to put in mind is that we're living in a busy world and at times you want to be part of your family and in terms of preparing their meals, but you don't have the time. So how can you do this? We'll also show you how you can do so in a moment. And to help us along is Mama Kebobo. She is a chef, and thank you for having us in your home. And as I've mentioned, the objective of this conversation is to talk to the busy adult who's trying to be part of their family, meals, but they can't, and they are also doing this on a budget. Why is it so important, and is it possible to actually spruce up your meals?
It's very possible, first of all, because we can have it all. I remember we were having this conversation. I was telling you, women can have it all. You can work, you can be part of the cooking. We don't have to move away from the kitchen and say, oh, we don't want to be in the kitchen anymore. You can still be there, do something for your kids, bond with your kids as a cooking experience. I mean, we eat every day. So that's not something you can ignore. So I want to do something that's going to help women feel like you're not missing out just because you're working. You're working and you don't have to come and deal with the guilt of, oh my God, I've not cooked for my kids in like a month or 2 months. And then you feel away less like your mom. And it's not a good feeling. I don't want that guilt. So if we can come up with recipes that are very easy to follow, easy to execute, and the results are very good, why not?
All right. And now that we're thinking about 3 things, budget, nutrition, and of course, the look and feel of what you're putting on that plate on a daily. Let's start with the budget. As a chef, you go shopping every other day. How has that changed with the pandemic?
It really has, because now I have to look at how much am I spending on this particular item. So when I go shopping, one of the first things I do is look at what is in season. Is it the tomatoes? Is it the onions? Is it the fruits? Whatever is on season is what I buy in bulk. And then I've had to learn how to make that extend in a very, way that's going to save me a lot of money. So, and one of the recipes I'll be showing people today is how to preserve tomatoes, because those things are very seasonal. Sometimes they're like a lot in the market, and then sometimes you're buying one like for $100. So how do you balance that? And that's the challenge we have. And the more we learn on how to extend the shelf life of our products, you're saving money, because you don't have to throw away when there are too many, and then you don't have to suffer so much when there are very little in the market.
All right. So let's talk about nutrition. You're living on a budget. You can't afford as much as you did before, but it's important to think about the nutrition not only for yourself, but also for your kids. So how do you play around with this on a budget?
On a budget. So first of all, I like to work with very basic ingredients. So what is available in every Kenyan home? What is there? We're not doing expensive things with the cheese and the lasagnas. They're good once in a while, but it's not something a lot of us can afford on a daily basis. So what do you do with eggs? What can you do with eggs to make them, like you can have them like in a week, 7 times in a week, but different every single time, because eggs are very nutritious and they're like, the poor man's version of chicken. So if you can afford to buy chicken every day, what can you do with eggs that makes them, exciting? You can have them for dinner, for breakfast, and at the same time make them so presentable that your kids want to have them. So I'll be showing a few of that.
All right. And you talk about presentable. Now, this is where at times we can fail ourselves.
I know.
You eat your githeri the first night, the second night, the third night, you're thinking, no, we can't do this anymore. So how do you keep that in mind, and how do you play around with that?
I think it's more of creativity and just getting wild with your thoughts. What can I do with githeri? What do I love in my beef? Do I love coconut cream in my beef? Can I use it in githeri? What happens? Then you try that and see what happens. Because like I told you, I love githeri in coconut cream, and it's not something a lot of Kenyans do, and I don't know why. I mean, you can always play around with these things and see where it takes you, and you never know, you might just discover something like it's so amazing. Teach the rest of us.
All right, now I'm going to add the 4th thing, because we're saying sprucing up your everyday meals on the go, which means we are busy, we don't have a lot of time. How do you play around with that?
You can do a lot of meal preps over the weekend or whenever you're free. I'm assuming if maybe you get your offs on Wednesday, that's the day you can do a lot of meal preps. You can pre-boil stuff, freeze them safely. I'll be showing a bit of that. That's why I have these freezer bags. So if you're free and you have like a lot of, let's say you can buy like 3 kilos of meat, because the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. You can actually now go to like Bama or somewhere where they sell like in bulk and buy a kilo for maybe 280 as opposed to 500 in your local butchery, and then you boil it with a basic like ginger, garlic and salt, and then you flash what's the word I'm looking for? You freeze it in portions that you need. So if you're like 4 people in the house and we use this amount of beef, like maybe quarters, you can now freeze in that portion. So when you need, you just come home, you just have your onions, your nyanyas, and immediately you just put the beef that is already boiled, and in 10 minutes you have like a very yummy meal.
Okay. All right. So right there is a good introduction as to what we're going to be achieving on this particular broadcast. It's enjoying our meals, everyday meals, by making sure they look and taste different on a budget. So starting us off, breakfast. This is something that is important. It has been said even by nutritionists. It is the most important part of your meal. So for today, what would you like to show us that would perhaps be on a budget? And it's something that's common in our Kenyan homes, but we can do it a little bit differently every time.
I'm going to do pickled onions, and I love pickled things. They're some of the healthiest things you can ever have. They're very good for your gut. They taste great. I love, pickled stuff. So I'm going to do pickled onions because, like you're saying, we want to work with what is readily available in the Kenyan, market. And onions, I mean, we all have onions in our homes.
Okay.
So it's just a different way to serve onions, and it makes other meals interesting. And it's something that takes, again, we say time, budget, and fun. So that's what we're going to do. And it's a very basic recipe because, again, we are looking at the budget. So I'm going to use like 4 ingredients, and that includes the onions. So we have the onions, we have the vinegar, and then we have the sugar and salt. So for the people who have a sweet tooth, they can go very high on the sugar and very low on the salt, and the vice versa. If you want them more savory than sweet, then you can use a lot of salt and then less of the sugar. So you just need your sufuria. This is vinegar, and in Kenya we have a lot of vinegar substitute. So and it's very cheap, by the way. I think 5 liter goes for 300 bob. I know people think these things are very expensive. Yeah, all of them. So the only thing you need to do at this point is just get it boiling, which takes like a minute or 2, and then you add in the sugar. Make sure you stir it to dissolve, and the salt. You're just gonna see that right now. And then meanwhile, as that gets hot, you can just stuff your onions in the jar.
Okay, I can do that for you.
All right.
All right.
Just stuff them all in there. It's a very basic recipe, and it's almost instant because in 30 minutes we'll be able to have that, and you're gonna tell them how it tastes.
Okay.
You can serve it with your sima and nyama. Basically like a kachumbari that is.
Is this something that I can also perhaps use as for my sandwiches in the morning? That's what I want to do.
Absolutely. Your sandwiches, your hot dogs, even your normal toast where you want to put the lettuce and the onions. Then you can do the pickled onions and nyanyas, and you serve. Okay. Yeah, with some ketchup.
So as we wait for that to boil, what can we be preparing in terms of our breakfast meal?
You can crack the eggs. That's not hard.
Okay. All right. Is this enough? I think that's enough.
That's enough.
So now the mixture will go in here.
Yeah. Okay. Our vinegar is ready. So we're going to do. These are teaspoons. So we can maybe do like 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of salt. So you're getting like a mix of the sweet, the savory,
sweet and sour.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the only thing you need to do, and this is like so basic, and it makes you look very good when you're serving your guests and they have some pickled onions over there, and you can replicate this recipe with carrots, cucumbers, literally anything you want to pickle.
Oh,
yeah.
And so in this case, they have to be raw, right?
Yes, they have to be raw. You don't have to be cooked because the vinegar breaks them down to a level of softness that is very good. So you have the crunch, but it's still soft enough for you to chew.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is this something that kids can take up to?
Yes, my kids love pickle. Some of these things are acquired taste, so you start early with the kids. Like cheese. We didn't get the luxury of having cheese every day in our homes, but when you start acquiring that taste early on, like when my last born was teething, I'd give her cheese slices to nibble on, and now she loves it. Okay. So when I do like toast in the morning and it has a lot of cheese, she doesn't mind because she already got used to that taste. So that's it. Imagine that easy. So our vinegar has boiled, the sugar and salt dissolved. So the only thing you need to do is just pour into the jar all the way up so that all the onions are covered in the mixture. See, like that?
Cool. Okay, then cover it up.
That's it.
And then just put it to the side?
Yes.
Okay, so how long does it now take time
about a minute,
to break down?
You can also look at the color. It will keep changing from that deep purple to a very light, almost pinkish purple. Then you know they're ready to have.
Okay.
This is instant.
All right.
There are some pickles that take a long time, but this is like we say, we are saving them time. We are saving
sour. Now remember, as you've heard her say, you can use this for your breakfast, but you can also use it for your meals.
Yes.
There are a couple of meals we'll be putting together, so we'll see how we can play around with the pickled onions. Now on to our breakfast plate. So we've got eggs, we've got bread. Yes. So what can we do that perhaps will give us some sprucing up of our lives, because it can get boring.
It really can.
It can get boring.
Also, I like to have recipes that involve the kids. So this is something the kids can do. You see, if I just tell my kids, just break them eggs, they're very excited to do that.
Yeah.
So if you can have your kids in the kitchen with you, it's a bonding time for mommy and the kids. It's also creates that interest in cooking for them, so that when they go to college, they're going to cook for themselves. And for them, they don't have to mind when they're 21 because they don't want to cook. It's something they're very comfortable with. And this is a very basic toast recipe. You can always, go wild with it. So the only thing we're going to do, we have the eggs. We are going to salt them.
Okay, I believe the salt was
the salt. Yeah, we're going to salt them a little. And at this point, you can season this with anything you want. You can go vanilla. I like to do this chai masala. I know traditionally people just use the chai masala for tea, but I have formulated it in a way that it's also a spice, a very sweet one, because there is the ginger, there is the cardamom, cinnamon, cloves. You're getting all that in one bite.
So this is your kawaida chai masala for chai, but you can play around with it with the eggs.
Yes, I'm going to have to say specifically my brand, because the others are not formulated with that in mind. So it might not taste the same when you use it as a spice. But when I was doing it, I had that in mind. I wanted people to have a cheaper version of cardamom, because cardamom can be quite expensive. So for your mandazi, for your smoothies, pancakes, cakes, this is a spice you want to use. So that's all. And I was going to talk about this bread. People think the bread has to be square. It doesn't have to be. This is like a pan wheel. What is that thing that kids call? So they're very interested in having different shapes of food. It just gets their interest, going. So when I go to buy bread, I like to buy this round one. But of course, the square one would work just fine.
And because they also have different sizes, even the small, tinier ones. So that could always feel like you're serving a different meal.
People just like to see something a bit different. It just, piques their curiosity. And a round bread is just one of those things. And then the way we're going to layer it, people will have it like you're having like
a sandwich.
Yes, and it just looks better. So simply just your eggs, season them with a bit of salt. Like I said, you can if you're not a fan of eggs that much, you can add a bit of milk. What this milk does, it lightens the mixture, so you're not getting like 3 eggs on one piece of bread because it's too dense. So when you add the milk in it, it makes it a bit lighter, so you get lesser eggs per piece. Does that make sense?
And somebody said when you put milk, it has a way of tasting a bit buttery.
It does. Oh my god, I love. And then when you pair it with butter, but then because we're doing budget, we're just gonna go with cooking oil. But if you do butter and you have the milk in the eggs, it's just a very buttery, smooth way to do it. Yeah. So for now, that will do. And simply, do I have? Because we love onions. The way in the Kenyan kitchen you use everything for everything. So just a little bit of oil. You can use butter if you prefer. So the idea is just to coat the pan. It's not to deep fry it or shallow fry it. It's just to make sure it doesn't stick.
Mafuta. Mafuta does not make your food yummy. It's the ingredients.
It helps though. From the coast, so we love. So basically, just dip. I usually do like the 3 seconds rule, 1, 2, 3, and then turn. Because you don't want to do it too fast, then nothing sticks on the bread. And then you don't want to do it too long, then it becomes soggy. Right?
1, 2, 3 rule.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, turn. 1, 2, 3, turn. See?
Can I do that?
1, 2, 3. Yes.
And then now I can put it into the pan.
Yeah.
Make sure that you drip.
Exactly. So you're not wasting too many eggs.
And then there.
I feel like we can fit a third one, can we?
Yes,
we can. We want to do that?
Okay.
So I said this mixture, you can season it with any spice that you like. It doesn't have to be sweet all the time. It can be savory also. You can do, your normal garam masala, jasiri. So just feel free.
What is jasiri?
Jasiri is a perfect seasoning. I came up with it, and my thought process was, what do you like when you're cooking? Is it onions? Is it garlic? Is it ginger? And I sort of threw in everything, and came up with a very good product.
So what are we saying here? That just having the right spices in your kitchen can actually totally change a meal.
Exactly, because, and then the pairing, people should take an interest in just getting to know what goes with what, because some are warm spices, they don't want to go with something too spicy, or sometimes something is too spicy and you want to bring it down by using a sweet something, like the way people do salt in gwashi, and then a lot of people, you know, it's like the one thing that divides Kenyans. Do you have salt?
Who has salt in gwashi?
It's actually okay. Let me tell you what happens. When you salt a sweet dish, it brings down the sugar. It kind of balances it out. You're not salting it so it tastes salt. You're just bringing down the sugar. But there's something about salt that elevates the flavors that you're looking for. Even when you're doing fruit salad, just sprinkle some salt. Even when you're doing cake, add some salt to it. It brings out a very balanced, elevated sort of flavor. So it's a good thing.
Talking about sprucing up, salt can change anything.
It can. It's the salt of life.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay, so now they are almost ready.
Yeah.
And in terms of how long you cook it is really upon your...
It's really up to maybe your fire.
Yeah?
Yes, your preference. Some people like it almost burnt. And sometimes, you know, things just happen in the kitchen. It's not always perfect. So you might end up overcooking your toast. Please don't. Try, but always, see, that's perfect. I like to say when you're pan frying something, always go with a very heavy bottomed pan, because what it does, once it's hot, it retains that heat. Even when you switch off the fire, the heat is still there cooking something up, so you're able to regulate the heat better. See that? As opposed to a very light pan, because a very light pan, you're basically cooking directly with the fire. If the fire is too high, then you're just burning everything. If the fire is too low, then you're not cooking anything. But this one, when it's that heavy, it kind of balances everything out. So
cool.
That looks good.
Our toast is almost done.
Yeah. People should remember to oil the pan, because if you don't, then the bread just sticks on the pan.
Again, just a little bit, not too much. Not too much. Remember, we have to think about the nutrition bit.
Totally.
Okay. So that. 1, 2, 3.
I got a feeling you can really cook.
Oh yeah, I'm comfortable in the kitchen.
Good stuff.
There's some people who will make fun of Gladys and say, kuna time Mashakura comes through, but hey, at times we can try. We can try and do some good cooking.
I doubt it. You look like you know your way.
All right, so now for those that actually have an allergy to eggs, because somebody's thinking, okay, fine, now I don't have much of an option because I don't do eggs.
Yeah, that's not true, because you can just butter your bread and do the same, placing it on the pan. And in this case, when you butter your eggs, your bread, you don't have to oil the pan, because the butter is the oil you need. So you just butter it straight up. You can just do the proper butter or margarine if you like, and then just place it on a very hot pan. And then flip it, you have your toasted bread, and then now you apply peanut butter, and then you can layer it with fruits or, you know, nyanyas and pickled onions. Just go crazy.
There we go. So are they ready to turn?
Yeah, they are. They should be.
Oops. This one's...
Sometimes, if you want to know whether they're ready to turn, you just look at the edges. If they're turning brown slightly, see? Then you know they're ready to turn.
Now, some of us like our eggs cooked well. So when it looks like a chapati, I know we're good. I
actually love my yolk a bit runny. And it's not something we do a lot in Kenya.
That story for Sunny Side Up, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I actually love mine scrambled, but I usually do it for like 5 seconds. One side flip, done.
Wow.
Love it.
Okay, and remember, this is the breakfast, one of the breakfast options that we are giving you. Remember, budget, nutrition, and on the go, but of course it has to be palatable. So remember, our question of the day to you is, what are your favorite Kenyan meals and how do you spruce them up? For example, breakfast, is there something that you do different with your toast? Talk to us. That hashtag is a new normal. So again, what are your favorite Kenyan meals? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, it doesn't matter. Talk to us. Let us know how you spruce them up so that at least we can share and learn from each other. So now we are ready to plate. The Kikuyu and me, we are ready to plate.
We are. And this is where I love to involve the kids again, because when it comes to fire, I like to, you know, give them space kidogo. So here, quite frankly, you can just do anything you want. You can do the peanut butter on top of the eggs. It's protein, so it's not bad. You can do fruit cuts. You can anything you want. Honestly, at this point, just add strawberries, mango slices, Avocado, I know it's a Kenyan thing, right?
Avocado is very, avocado is very.
So yeah, and then I see a lot of people liking to drizzle with some syrup and stuff.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's too much sugar. So what I like to do, the bananas are the sugar you need, and it's healthier. So you can do that. You can serve as is, or then if you have different fruits, you can just make it like very rainbow-like. So you can have some strawberries, some blueberries. So you have the blue, the red, the banana, the mango, the pineapple. So at this point, I don't want to limit anyone on one particular way of doing things. Just layer your toast with the fruits you want. Alternatively, if you're an adult and you don't want to go the sweet way, you can have your lettuce, you can have your tomatoes, your pickled
onions,
and then some ketchup, some mayo, some
all
and then just have it as a sandwich. So this is something your kid will want to have.
Actually, it looks pretty presentable, and the fact that it has the bananas inside, it means you have your fruit, you have your starch, and you have your protein.
Yes, absolutely.
All in one. And that didn't take long at all.
It didn't.
Yeah.
You can just do this before you dash to work.
Okay.
Also, another thing, I think this will be helpful for the picky eaters. If you're not sure your child is going to finish, don't serve them the entire sandwich, because then you're just wasting it. So you can quarter it like that, so that if they just have one, then someone else can have the rest. So you can serve it like this.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay, and this can also be used for their break time snack.
Absolutely.
If they're the kind that take something to school.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right, so this is one option of breakfast. We'll let it sit just cool a little bit before we try it out. So what's the second option?
For breakfast, do we want to toast for the guys who don't do eggs?
Yeah, just show them how we can do that with butter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's so easy. It is easy.
For most people, I think the feeling is that you don't have enough time, or you don't have the creativity to just keep changing things up.
I'm the kind of person that is very solution oriented. If your butter is not melted enough, just melt it on the pan and just
there you go. I think we need an extra plate.
And I also feel like people give up very fast. You try a recipe, it didn't work, and then you're upset and you don't try it again. You keep trying until you perfect it. And it's the same thing with life. You can just say, oh, I tried, it didn't work, so I'm going.
And this didn't work out, And also what I'm seeing and hearing you say is that you can curate any of these meals to what it is you like, to your palate.
What you have. Do you know, I like to do the chai masala and very thick yogurt and use it as a spread as opposed to margarine. Oh, no. You can use sour cream, you can use cream cheese. Let's try and get out there more. Like, what else can I do?
Yeah, because at times you have the yogurt seated in the fridge for so long.
And you're wondering, oh my God, what can I do with this yogurt? That's something you can do with the yogurt.
And when you talk about the yogurt, are you talking about the flavored or the natural yogurt?
Either is fine.
Okay.
Either is fine. Either way, it's still healthier than, using something that is sugar loaded, because yogurts have probiotics, so there's it kills your gut, and you know what they say about women and yogurt, so it's a good thing to have.
I hear you. And also, I'm asking this question for those that really do not like the natural yogurt, yet it's the healthiest. So if you can actually mix it up with your chai masala, it gives it a flavor.
Or you freeze bananas, you freeze strawberries, and then blend with the natural yogurt. Then you're getting the sweetness in a very healthy way.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so for somebody who does not do eggs, this is the option we have, right?
Yes, you can just do, like I said, you can do butter, you can do margarine if that's what you have, and then just toast it, and again, now layer it with your fruits.
Okay.
And you're good to go.
Now, I think this has cooled down. Okay. So, Basweti, Fidel, watch me eat. Let me tell you, it's amazing how this tastes so different, because most often than not you would do the fruit on its own and perhaps the bread later, but now when you sandwich them, the flavors are so different yet really yum. And that chai masala, by the way, works.
I know, it hits asada in waves, because you're getting the ginger, the cardamom, the cinnamon.
This is good. And definitely because of the bananas, it's a good sell to your kids too.
So this is the option for those guys who still want to have like a protein-packed breakfast, but they can do eggs.
Ah.
And
Now this is what? Peanut butter?
yes, it's cashew butter, but peanut would work just fine. I like to say, you know what? If you have leftover food, I mean, it's still your food, right?
Yeah.
If you have beef, you can actually just pull it. If it's soft enough to pull, and then you have like these tiny pieces, you can just put them on top of the bread, and then do some ketchup, some mayo, and you serve it like a sandwich. Why not?
Okay. In this case, with the cashew, would bananas still go with it in terms of the
Absolutely. I
flavor?
want you to taste it because there's something about peanut and bananas that work just so amazingly well. So I want you to try that and let me know what you think.
Okay. It's a good thing I did not have my breakfast earlier.
I want you to leave via my side.
Okay.
So let's just do peanut and bananas. Somebody should check that because it works so well. There.
Okay. Okay. Just to be fair, let me just give my producer to be having some breakfast. Here, Jane, enjoy.
So again, we say that the toast, it has to be your preference. If you
Yeah.
like it a bit, you know, crusty,
Yeah.
almost burnt, you can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
See, some people like to hear that noise.
Yeah, for some of us, we like it crunchy, a bit well done, so that works.
You can also put a slice of cheese in between, and it's gooey, it's melted.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, there's so much we can do.
Okay. So do you break this one also, or you can just have it as is?
You can have it as is
Yeah.
if you know you're gonna finish.
Okay.
My tip was always portion your food in small bits so that it's like chapati. Instead of serving full chapatis and then someone just has one and they want a bite of the next but can't finish it, then what happens? Who wants to eat chapati that you put your teeth in and you left? It's not a good thing. So when you portion it in like quarters, then you know if the next person just wants a piece of the next chapati as opposed to like a full one, they can just take a quarter and the rest of it is safe for the rest of people to eat.
And actually in itself, you're saving yourself food.
You are, because then you have to throw the rest of it.
And you're also taking care of that budget. Now, as it's cooling down, before I take a short break, I think it's only fair for those that don't do gluten, that means perhaps bread is not in their option. What's the option we have?
We have an option. Oh my God, I like to accommodate everyone. That is what makes me a very good host.
Okay.
So for the guys who don't have gluten and anything bread, this is a very awesome option. We have the sweet potatoes, they're already cooked, and one way to tell whether they're cooked through is just poking a knife, a skewer or a fork and make sure it goes very easily all the way to their side. And the beauty about boiling them with the skin on, you can literally never like overcook them in this way because they can't break apart. If you peel them before you boil, then they start overcooking on the edges and the inside is still not like properly cooked because of the they're interacting with the water, the hot water directly, and it's bubbling. So that motion of the water usually kind of mashes up the outside of it even before the middle part cooks.
Okay.
So do
all
the skin on.
right. So now the ngwashe is good thing, very healthy, but now having it today, tomorrow,
it can be
it can be very boring. So how do you spice them up? How do you spruce up that breakfast with ngwashes?
You can, I have a few recipes at the top of my head. You can peel them and then put them back on fire, add coconut cream and some of the chai masala, let it like cook for like 10 minutes so it can absorb that coconutty flavor and then serve.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Then alternatively, you can make like a batter where you mix some ungangano and then that's all-purpose flour, and then you put some color, not a mass, but you can just make it exciting.
So in this case, what, turmeric?
Turmeric is good. You can do even beetroot for the red, or you can just buy food grade food color. I mean, it's food color, so it's safe to eat. Then put a little bit of it in the flour, mix with some water, make like a very thick batter like you're making pancakes. Dip the ngwashe there and deep fry or shallow fry or even bake.
All right.
Alternatively, you can slice it in like fries kind of shape and then put them in the oven. You can sprinkle some sugar, some salt, some chai masala, any spice you want, some let's say cardamom only, and then just bake for like 10-15 minutes and then have like sweet potato fries. So there are many different ways you can have this. You can mash it and then spice it with whatever spice you want. Make like a patty, around, you know, like a chapati shape,
Yeah.
and then pan fry it, and then add it in the middle of the bread, and have like a burger.
There we
That's
go.
a vegetarian burger right there.
And also remember, if you would like it with your eggs, you can make the eggs on the side, right? And then just accompany it. Because again, we're also thinking about the nutrition bit of it, because you've got to get the balance right as
have
much as
to.
we are doing this
And sometimes you
on a
don't have the
budget.
bread. You don't have the bread, but you have this.
Yes, you do. Okay, so at this point, we take our first short break on your world. When we come back, we'll now get to the meals, and we have something yummy lined up for you. And it's those Kenyan meals that we are trying to spruce up to ensure that you don't get bored just having the same meal over and over again. And also remember, we would like to learn from you too. What are your favorite Kenyan meals? How do you spruce them up? Talk to us. That hashtag is new normal. We'll be right back. In the meantime, we'll be trying out the sandwich.
Babe, I'm at KFC. Do you want anything?
I'm actually not that hungry, babe.
I'm actually not that hungry, babe. Coming right up.
Try the new KFC Duo Bucket. 4 delicious pieces of KFC chicken, 4 zinger wings and chips. The perfect sharing meal for 2.
Customer preferences are changing daily. You wake up one day, an innovation has come up and the customer wants a service in a way that you've not delivered before. Textbook Center aims to provide service, products and solutions that exceed our customers' expectations. Partnering with Sandy Transport ensures that we are able to deliver on our promise of being more than a bookshop.
Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, we offer free delivery within the same day? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can open an account and lipa pole pole at your convenience? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can get customized sizes according to your roof plan to avoid wastage? Call us now on 0111 050 700. Ruiru Mabati Factory, Mali Safi kwa bei poa.
I'm growing up, I'm growing into every moment. So if I
Nurture the moment. Minute Maid Nutri Defenses, fortified with vitamin E and zinc to help improve your defense system.
AMRC's objectives are aligned with the government's affordable housing pillar of the Big Four agenda. Visit any of the participating financial institutions today and start your home ownership journey. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, unlocking liquidity for affordable housing.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and today we're coming to you live from Kiambu County, specifically from the kitchen of Mamake Bobo. She is a chef, and she is part of this conversation where we are trying to understand how we can spruce up our Kenyan meals. As we said, maisha ni kusaidiana. We're living in tough economic times. Those meals are becoming fewer and fewer, and even how to play around with them so that you're not bored about what you put on your plate is also becoming a bit tricky, and plus you're busy all the time. So how can we ensure that we whip up a good meal, enjoy the meal, but also focus on your budget, nutrition, and of course it has to be something that is done fast. So Mama Kebobo, thank you. Okay. So far so good. I loved the breakfast options, really yummy. So now where do we go to now that we have to think about the meals that we can play around with in our homes?
All right. Anyone that knows me knows I love githeri. Oh my god, I love it's so weird. I love githeri so much.
Yeah.
So I want to demonstrate a very fast yummy way to do githeri, just one of the many ways we can. But I wanted to point this out. Are you seeing?
Oh wait, it's changing color.
I told you. You know, it's something is happening. There is something happening. So it you know moves from the purple to a pink. Yes. Okay. And now by the time we taste it, you'll tell the difference. It won't taste like your normal bitter onion. It's gonna be something you want to have. Okay. Then, if you allow me, I want to demonstrate something. Like I said, we want to know how we can stretch our budget when it comes to buying groceries. One of the things that I've noticed about our market is that sometimes something is like in plenty, it's almost a waste, and then sometimes you can't get it. So what I usually like to do with tomatoes, I like to buy them when they're in season, like a lot, where you can get like maybe 40 pieces for like 40 bob, you know, like 1 bob per tomato. So what I like to do, let me just put the fire on. Just blend. There's no chemistry or science on this one. You just put them in a blender and just blend. If you have a food processor, even better. But if you put them in a blender and you need to add a little bit of water, just kidogo too, so that you can just, you know, keep the blender going. So just blend them. And please give me that. The serviette.
A serviette.
Or I have a different pan. Let's just see if I can use this. So what we're going to do is make use of nyanyas when they're in season. What can you do to make sure you're not spending like a fortune when they're not in season? So a very basic, you're not going to believe this. We're using 3 things. Just oil, tomatoes, and salt. Peke yake.
Oh.
Peke yake, and that's going to save you like a lot of money. So what we're going to do is just add a little bit of oil. This, of course, depends on how much, you know, tomatoes you have. We're just going to wait for the oil to get hot, then add in our blended tomatoes. You can go wild with this one. It can be like a whole bucket. Just use like a bigger sufuria, and then we're going to pour it there. Let it cook down. You see how much it is right now? By the time you're done, it will be like almost like a paste, all the way quarter. But that paste can last you for years.
Oh, really?
Like you can store it for years.
So is that what we normally buy in the canned?
Yes, but with a lot of
chemicals to preserve. Okay,
yes.
I hear you.
This way, it's basically you're getting tomato paste that you homemade. I mean, you know everything that went into it. So simply just let the mafuta just get heated, not too much, and then pour in your mixture. And shocking, nothing else. We are not. Help me with the yellow spoon.
The spatula.
Nothing else. Just let it cook down until it's not watery. It's like a paste. When I do this, it just leaves the place clear.
Okay, so help me understand. So we are preserving the tomatoes, taking advantage of the season.
Yes.
But then again, what can you do with this paste that would change your meals, and how would it help you in preparing your meals quicker?
You literally, this is a bit different from the sauce I wanted to make for all the meals. I'll do it quickly over here, but you can make a big, you know, batch of sauce, and then every time you come home, you have boiled meat, you can just put the sauce in the sufuria, heat it up, add your meat, your dania, voila, in 10 minutes you have like this fantastic fresh meal. Yeah, so it's one way you can do. If you have time, I can you know, do the sauce, but right now, can we do the githeri?
Yes, please. Let's do the githeri. We would like to see how we can play around with the meals.
I have a trick with this too. So just put some oil. You remember I said I love oil. So feel free to adjust your recipe to less oil. I just happen to love some. I think I was born in Western.
Yeah.
You know, like West Africa.
Comes from
West Africa. Usually the food is usually swimming in oil, but we don't go all that while. So what I like to do, I should have waited for my oil to get hot. I didn't, but here's my trick. I like to add the potatoes at the same time with the onions, and what that does, it fries the potatoes in the oil. They kind of taste like fries when you're done with your githeri. So they're not just some boiled potatoes, and they won't hinder the cooking of the onions. So the onions will still cook properly and brown at their pace while the potatoes are getting cooked.
Interesting.
So it's fast and it gives it a very different flavor. You'll tell me, you're my...
I'm the guinea pig and I love it.
So...
All right, so potatoes, this is your usual githeri. Of course, people from my side of town are very happy that we're doing this meal because it comes in handy. But then again, to know that you can do something about the potatoes so that they taste a little bit different makes a difference.
So at this point, you can season with salt only, because if you put the garlic paste, again, another tip, if you're a working mom, when you're free, do the paste, the garlic paste, the ginger paste, so then you don't have to struggle peeling and grinding ginger and garlic.
This is actually garlic. That's how it looks like. So in this case, how do you do this? Do you just mush it, or do you, because it's a paste?
It is. What you blend it? Once you blend it, and the different ways of doing it, you can use vinegar and oil, but then sometimes I like to just do it plain with water if I'm using it for, let's say, dawa. You know the
the concoction.
Because you don't want to have that concoction with oil in it. But if it's just for cooking, sometimes you can just separate the jars and label them. The jar with the vinegar helps it not turn green. When you use the vinegar and the oil, you put it on one side for cooking, and then you can do one with water just for maybe taking with,
all right, and this is ginger. This is how it looks like. So same thing, process it, and then now you can put in
jars, and then you can even freeze for years.
So vinegar is a preservative in this case?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. And this actually makes it easy because you just cook as you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't have to do all the prep work. Like I was saying, you can do preps in advance. And a lot of people don't know this. When you buy a box of garlic, it goes for like 1,600 only, and that's 20 kilos.
Oh.
So when you do the math, like how much are you saving? So I usually buy like one box at the beginning of the year, and I have like garlic for like 9 months.
Ladies and the gentlemen that love to make use of the kitchen, this is a mwakene you're getting. In this economic times, it goes a long way.
It does. And I love, knowing those small things that can just really save you money.
Yeah. Definitely. And time.
Oh my God, time.
And time. Now let's talk about the herbs, because clearly this is something I've seen that is a constant even in your preps and your meals. What is the value of garlic and ginger in changing around a meal that was just flat?
Oh my God, the flavors first of all are very different. The aroma. Have you ever walked into a room with garlic and lime? I think if I were to make a perfume, that's how it smell like. It's so beautiful. It brings out these flavors that make everything just amazing and interesting. Like imagine just having boiled githeri and having it fried with onion, ginger and garlic. It's just different. And of course the health benefits for herbs and stuff. It's something you can do, and they're not expensive. Like I said, garlic sometimes is, but if you buy it in bulk, like I'm saying, when you do the math, 20 kilos at 1,600, it's basically like, how much is that?
Wait, you said 1,600? That's
20 kilos. That's 80 per kilo, which is very, very cheap. Considering garlic goes for sometimes 300, 400 per kilo.
It does. Yeah. So, because githeri, and let me just open this tin. This is your boiled githeri. Who am I on? To just understand, this is githeri. Now, we need to play around with the color because, again, it can be a bit too plain.
It can.
If you serve it this way.
Totally,
And there are those who love it with just the salt.
The question is, how often can you have that?
There we go. So, in this case, how are we going to spice it up? We have our carrots, I see. What else are we going to do with our potatoes?
Some ginger and garlic, some salt, some we're going to use jasiri. I told you it's a perfect seasoning. You can use it for all the foods apart from the sweet ones.
All right.
And then now we have some tomatoes and the githeri. And if you suffer from acidity issues, then you can just skip the whole tomato bit and just straight up put the githeri.
All right, interesting. So are we talking about the paste now? The paste is what would actually come in handy. You just cook and put it in your githeri.
Because at the end of the day, this is tomatoes. These are just tomatoes that are cooked down into a paste that can be stored for years. So it's very safe. You can add them to anything. So instead of just going and buying fresh nyanyas and putting them in food, this is your tomato paste. You can just scoop it in your meat and just continue cooking like you would any other, time. Except now it's saving you a lot of time because it's already pre-cooked.
Yes. So imagine you've come from work and all you have to do is perhaps just do the potatoes. The onions are already pickled and you can play around with those. Throw them in there. Then put in your carrots, your githeri, and you put your tomato paste from the fridge. The meal is done.
It is.
Okay, so now in terms of color, I'm still going back to color because they say this is where kukula na macho applies. If it looks good, you'll actually enjoy your meal.
Yeah.
So we are in a market where things like dania, such things actually come in handy. And I see some chefs just drop it in on the plate as opposed to cooking it with the food. Why? And is this something we can explore?
Yeah, okay, first of all, when you garnish, it's usually for the eyes. It makes, like when you have the that is all red, when you see a green in there, it gets you excited, But, I mean, dania is a very fragrant herb. When you cook it, you kind of lose that. So you want to use something like dania or the chives when they're fresh, and the taste is also very, fresh. It's like mint. You don't want to cook mint. You can, but then when you taste fresh mint, it just bursts in your mouth and it's exciting. So you can still use the dania stalks when you're cooking for that coriander flavor. But then at the end of when you're done with the cooking, the freshness is what you want in your meal. So you can usually add it just before you serve the food.
Now I know, of course, the question is, especially with the mothers, is how do I get my children to eat githeri? I already have an 8-year-old. Yes. Tunakula nini? Githeri again. So how can we keep it exciting for the kids?
Funny enough, I have an 8-year-old that would pick githeri over burger anytime. Like, I have to tell her, you've been eating githeri every day of the week and you stop.
So what is this that you do that makes it so yum for the kids? Because it's a different thing. An adult will eat because it's necessary.
I want you to see this. See what's happening. See that potato?
They look like fries.
I know. And the onions.
You and fries.
And the onions are just it does not, interfere with the cooking of the onions.
Yeah.
So both of them are getting cooked at the same time.
Did I see you put salt?
Yes, I did. I put salt to fasten the process.
Yeah.
So in a minute, when the onions start turning golden brown, we can now proceed to add the rest of the ingredients. So I was saying for the githeri, it's just, I think that liberty for your child to pick what kind of githeri they like. It's amazing that in my house we have different types of githeri. I want mine fried with everything, and my daughter sometimes just wants to put margarine on it and have. So I don't force her to have it my way. I let her have whatever she wants. And sometimes she just wants to, just onions only and the githeri. So I usually ask, Mommy, what do you feel like having today? I mean, we have githeri, but how do you want it? She's like, no, leave it alone, I'll cook. Yeah, she knows how to cook. I used to supervise, earlier on, but now I don't anymore because now I trust her with fire. But what I'm saying, as a parent, it's good to involve your kids in the decision making when it comes to meals. Because sometimes you force your way on them and they end up hating that particular thing. Like, I personally don't like ugali. I'm sorry. I know it's a staple. But we used to have ugali every day in our household, in my mom's house, to a point where I was like, the day I get my house, we are not going to have that stuff.
So now for you it's githeri.
Yes, I do love githeri because my dad used to hate githeri, and my mom, she had a problem with the teeth. So githeri for us was not something we used to have a lot. So now I end up overcompensating by having so much. So there's that rebellion. But when you involve your kids in the process, of deciding what it is you're having, it's a beautiful harmony, because then they can also explore the flavors they like without feeling like they're disobeying you or they're upsetting you.
Yeah.
So
do you have to wait until it's really cooked, because they could start breaking down, the potatoes that is?
Actually not, because when they fry, they crisp up at the edges. So them breaking down is almost not likely to happen.
Actually, what we're doing is sauteing them, right?
Yes. Another thing I'm gonna say, at this point when the onions are just about to brown, this is when you add whatever spices and flavorings you want, because if you add, the way I see people doing cooking videos and they're adding spices when nyanyas are already cooked, it doesn't give them time to release the flavors into everything. You want to have your spices in the cooking oil, because the cooking oil is the one thing that goes into everything they're cooking, because it coats all the ingredients.
Yes.
I don't like ginger in my githeri. So I'm just gonna go with garlic on this one. And then immediately, like a minute, when the garlic the rawness is gone, then I'm gonna do my seasoning. And this is how you open the spice. Some people just tear it and then it doesn't look too good. So when you cut the seal, you're able to...
Yeah. So this is what?
That's the jasiri.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now we are ready to add it. And then sometimes when you see things sticking at the bottom, it's a good thing because now when you add your water or your tomatoes, it brings out those bits that are almost crispy. So this is the place where you add your spices. You just do a little bit of that. It could be anything at this point. You could do danajira, you could do garam masala, curry powder, except for the spices that have cornstarch.
Okay.
Because cornstarch has a way of making things thicken, and at this point you don't want them too thick that the rest of the things don't cook.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. It's starting to look up. The colors are changing. This looks good. It looks good. Okay.
And it smells.
Yeah. So how is the tomato paste doing?
We need, see, it's already reduced. The idea is to cook it down until it's not watery at all. So I said at the point where you draw like this and it doesn't come back.
Oh, look at that.
So, it's, yeah.
So are we still a bit watery?
Yes, just a little bit. When it's done, you will see it even separating. The oils will be visibly on the sides and the...
Okay.
But almost there. See, it's thick now.
Yeah, it's getting thick.
Actually, at this point, it's thick enough for us to use it here. Let's just do... This is the point where I would add nyanyas normally.
Yeah.
But then you see now, I have an advantage because they're already cooked down. So, no hurry with this one.
Okay.
Has to cook down.
Ooh, this looks good. Oh, okay. So the potatoes feel like they're also getting ready. So when do we put in the githeri?
Once you make sure the potatoes are ready, because the way I do it, the githeri is already cooked. You don't need it to cook, like you just need it to heat through and absorb the flavors you put in here. So once the potatoes are ready, you can go in with the carrots and then the githeri immediately after. Ordinarily, I'd give the nyanyas time to cook if they were raw, so that the raw flavor of the nyanya is gone. But now since we have the shortcut, I'm just gonna go in with the carrots. I don't like my carrots like soggy cooked.
Yeah.
So once you put the carrots, just go in with the githeri. Again, balance is key. You don't want to dump your whole 3 kgs of githeri in.
Yes.
And now what we're going to do, we are giving the beans and the maize time to catch up with the flavor, intensity of the rest of the ingredients. So again, at this point you can decide, do you want to flood it or do you want to...
Oh yeah, actually I was just thinking, at this point guys are thinking, when are we bringing in our flour?
When are we bringing the ancestors? I'm the kind of person that likes my food quite dry, but for purposes of demonstration, let me just add a little bit of water. And then you give it time, give it like 10 minutes. And the idea here is to get everything heated through. I've always wanted to share this tip. I think never got the chance. Part of the reason why some foods go bad like real fast is because when you mix something that is hot and another one that is cold, and then you just serve, you can eat at that moment and not, have like a bad reaction. But tomorrow, because of the different temperatures, things are bound to go bad. But when you put them and let them boil for like 10 minutes together, then the temperatures are equal and the same, at that point. So something like mokimo, and that's the problem with mokimo in a lot of instances. People add the different ingredients at different temperatures, and then once they mix, an hour later,
they're spoiled. Actually, those get-togethers, the mokimo is normally the first one to go. Okay.
That is the problem. But if everything is at the same temperature, then you're good to go. It can stay for days.
Okay.
So I think for me, I don't like it soupy, but I'm struggling because I know people
do it the way you do it. The rest of us will adjust accordingly.
All right. So yeah, that's it. I have tried. Okay. I have tried. So that's it. Just give it like the few minutes to blend in everything. We taste for salt, and then we garnish with our dania, and our githeri is ready to serve.
Okay.
And you can go wild. You can add peanut butter.
Is that a bit much?
No.
Really?
Good, yeah. Again,
So,
some of the things you can do with githeri to make it exciting. Do you know I have this fruity githeri where I cook with bananas and I add avocados, I add pineapples inside. You can, why not?
so at what point in the process do you add these because they're already ripe?
They're already ripe, but something like mangoes, if you get the semi-ripe ones, they need a bit more time to cook like potatoes. So you start with the mangoes, it gives you the sour, and then you get the pineapples because when you cook down pineapples, the sourness kind of disappears, then becomes more sweet, and then you finish up with the avocados.
So when you're going to shop, you find the ones that are not really ripe?
Yes.
This is super.
Yeah.
So that would be what?
So you have, it's like, I usually call it the treasure hunt. So when you're scooping that, you don't know whether you're going to get an avocado in there or a pineapple in there or a mango. And then it gets your kids excited to, oh my God, what did you have? What did you have? Is, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if it has pineapple, it will be githeri Hawaiian.
You know.
Okay. I love the fact that we're getting ideas on how we can play around with things that are available to us and you can get in the market. And also in the spirit of nutrition, knowing that you can even put your fruits in your meals.
You can.
I mean, goes a long way in ensuring that we actually spruce up our lives. So at this point, are we going to add anything? I'd had you talk about coconut. Is this something that you want to do for us today, Amma?
No, I was just mentioning, like today we are keeping it basic and affordable.
Yeah.
But if you feel free to add coconut. But for the recipe with coconut, I like to do just like a ton of onions, like a lot of onions once they brown. Add in your githeri, then the coconut cream, and it has to be cream, not milk, because I don't like it like very runny. And then let it cool and everything comes together. Season with whatever you want to season with and serve.
Okay. How is the tomato paste doing?
Almost done.
Look,
it's looking good.
Oh, this is good.
There you go.
Finally, we have our paste. And you're right, it actually shrunk.
Yeah, it does.
So to speak.
And when you do this, it doesn't come back. That's what I was saying.
Then we're good,
Yes, we are. So at this point, what we are going to do is still a little bit runny, but for purposes of demonstration, let me just show you what we're going to do. We're going to add salt to it. Now, salt is the preservative in this case.
Okay.
Not too much, but then again, since you're cooking it with the rest of the meals that are salty, you might factor in that it has salt. So just combining with the salt. And that's it.
Wow.
That is it. Okay, I need to give it a few minutes if we have them for the oils and the tomatoes to separate. That's the final test to know that it's fine. And then you let it cool down completely. Put it in safe freezer, food grade freezer bags. I was trying to show. When you're going to buy some of these things, not all of them are unhealthy. Just make sure it's written that it's freezer safe, it's food grade, and then you just put your paste inside.
When it cools down.
You start with writing what it is and the date. I like to know the dates so that I know what to use first. If I had, like for example, if I go to my freezer and get a bag that is written 2019 and another one written 2021 July, I'm more likely to use the earlier one. So it's always good to label the date and what it is that is inside. And good stuff. Come Steve.
Oh, that's what you were talking about. Even the oil will come to the top.
Yes.
So
imeiva. No, not this space. Now you just want to let it cool down completely, put it in this bag, and then once it's inside, push back all the air out, and then zip. I don't know whether you can see this.
Can you see this? Yeah, he's actually seeing it because we're using this camera now.
All right. So you just put it inside, then spread it in, and then push out all the air, and then zip from one side to the other. Once you get to this point, and there's still some space left, make sure all the air is out, and then zip it completely. And then I like to draw lines like this. It could be a spoon or a knife or whatever, and then you put it in the freezer. So it's already cooled down. What happens when it's frozen? These lines give you like a place to break them. So you open and just get one piece. You just get like one piece of that block of tomatoes, and they just throw it and use it to cook.
That is so useful because, I mean, at the end of the day, you know that at times tomatoes can be gold in this country. So when they are in season, go get as much as you can, make your tomato paste, and put them in the fridge, as she has said, and you will always have a year's supply of tomatoes. And remember, they always bring out the flavors in your meal. So I'm told we need to take another short break here on Your World. When we come back, I would love to see what else we can do with our Kenyan meals. And if I'm not wrong, there's some ugali coming up for those that are saying Githeri COA too. And we'll see how we can play around with that. But for now, at least we've learned we can do ugali Hawaiian, or rather Githeri Hawaiian. So, and many other things in terms of keeping it simple, on a budget, and of course, nutritious. So even as we take this short break, I think it's important to talk a little bit more about the pre-prep, and especially because this is what saves time. So we've talked about the tomatoes. Earlier you talked about how you can prep your meats. Yes. And just for those that missed that, you can actually tell us what it is you can do to your meat to ensure that it's already ready for you to use now for your various meals.
All right. I was talking about going and buying meat in bulk, which is a lot cheaper, like almost like half the price, because I usually buy a kilo at 280, but usually at the butcher it's 550. So you can see the margins are very like huge. So buy in bulk, come boil with ginger, garlic, and salt. Basic, because then you want to be able to translate that into something very different when you're cooking. So don't like put a lot of spices in it, because not every meal, like if you want to do pilau, it's gonna taste very different when you have it spiced with something else. So just basic meat, salt, ginger and garlic. Make sure it's soft, it's cooked through, let it cool down completely. Again with the bags, portion it. If you use a quarter every day, then freeze them in quarters, right? Like I've demonstrated, just push out the air, zip completely, and then throw in the freezer. When you're ready to cook, or if you plan your meals ahead before you go to work, take one bag from the freezer, put it at the in the fridge section of the fridge. People don't know there's a difference. There's a freezer and there's a normal fridge section. Just put it there to throw in there. When you come back in the evening, you have your meat that is not frozen, and then you have your sauce over here that also is not frozen. Then you just fry your onions, put the tomato and the meat and dania, and in 10 minutes you have your ugali over there and nyama.
Okay. Now, can this apply to chicken too?
It can. You can marinate chicken and freeze it. You can parboil it and freeze. You can freeze it raw, just the way you want. But the beauty is when you portion them, then it saves you a lot of trouble knowing. And then, like I said, you have this place where you can write, this is marinated with this, so you know what you're cooking. If you want to do deep fried chicken, then you know the kind of marinade you want to do with that. But then, like I was saying, this sauce, it can be used for anything. You're so tired, you have the sauce ready for the tomatoes, you can just crack in your eggs, scramble them, and then put the tomato and dania,
and you're good to go.
Good to go.
Excellent. Okay, when we come back, definitely I'll be trying our githeri, and also as we get to understand the next meal, which has ugali in it, and how we can actually play around with the meat that we're talking about. And I'm sure we're all walking away with a thing or two in as far as how we can spruce up our Kenyan meals. So how do you do yours? Talk to us. That hashtag is new normal. We'll be right back.
Subscribe to Nyota for more than 1 month. Enjoy na channels Sita Zaidi. Subscribe to Basic Bouquet for more than 1 month and enjoy 5 extra channels. Subscribe to Classic Bouquet for only $899 for 30 days.
Enjoy digital life.
Your baby's quite active.
alternative. After I discovered Morphix, I rediscovered my baby. She's jumping and running around. Well, we call that the Morphix Comfort.
Thanks to its elastic side bands, Morphix provides freedom of movement for your baby.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Morphix.
Fresh fried ginger has ginger oil, which is good for a healthy living lifestyle. It combines wonderfully on salads, stir-fries, when basted on roasted meat, or simply sprinkled on your favorite dish. Now available in 250 ml, 500 ml, and 1 liter.
Unataka kumake dream zake zikam true, tutawak na wewe kuzitimiza kwa urahisi. Hii ndio Africanacity. Hii ni Absa.
A place in your heart.
Catherine! Catherine, stop! You are a murderer, Catherine. You deserve your double life sentence. I regret marrying a monster like you. You mark my words. I'll have you locked up, and this time for good.
That's what you think, Sean?
Easy.
Well, your husband is in the hospital right now. Somebody had shot him earlier. I'll be straight with you. He's not doing very well.
Oh no. He's what?
A place in your heart.
Wow, thank you for your time. How juicy.
Juicy.
Juicy fruit, juicy fruit.
Hello, my name is Nihala Barasa, and welcome to Learn in a Minute. Have you ever walked into a yoga class, a Zumba class, an aerobics class, or a spin class, the one with perceived riding of bicycles? What is the one common factor for all these classes? More often than not, you'll find that these classes are attended largely by women. Are you also a beginner in fitness? Trying to look into joining a fitness activity and a little intimidated and shy about the weightlifting section and being lonely at the gym? Well, it is highly recommended that as a woman, shy, intimidated, and wanting to know what happens in the fitness world, to join a group activity because they are more social, they are more friendly, you are more likely to make companions there, and this will get you in the fitness mode. This has been Learn in a Minute, and I am Nihala Barasa.
Every Friday at 10 p.m., NTV is dubbed as the home to the biggest and most fascinating people on TV. We give you a fix of the latest trends in entertainment. Pack your eardrums with the freshest hits. And bring you the biggest names in the 254 and beyond. Energy, synergy, fun and flair. If it's hot, it's on the trend. If it's not, well... Catch this exhilarating show every Friday from 10 p.m. with the freshest trio, Osoro Viamono, the Scratch Master himself, DJ E, and your sassy homegirl, Amina Abdi Rabar. All this on the trend, only on NTV.
The Trend in association with Oppo Reno 6.
Ni super poa kuvaa barakoa. Ni super poa kuvaa barakoa.
Je, unajua kwamba mtu yeyote mwenye umri wa miaka 6 au zaidi anaweza kuwa superhero kwa kuvaa barakoa? Ndiyo kabisa, anaweza! Kama hujafikisha miaka 6, usijali. Wewe pia unaweza kuwa superhero kwa kuwakumbusha ndugu zako na wazazi wako wavae barakoa zao. Kuvaa barakoa kunasaidia kujilinda wewe na kuwalinda wengine dhidi ya virusi.
Ni super poa kuvaa barakoa.
Cracking the whip. Africa Union reads the Riot Act to Ethiopia Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and rebels. Money. East Africa is bad business for thriving South African farms back home. Plus our opinion leaders. Creating a single airspace for East Africa community reads like rocket science. Joaquin Buembo. Our feeble states turn into private estates when new leaders arrive. Generali Ulimwengu. Magazine. Coronavirus snatched the miracle and bundle of joy from new mothers. For these and more stories, get your copy of the East African.
Welcome back to Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and today we are having a masterclass in cookery. To be specific, we are looking at how to spruce up your everyday Kenyan meals on the go. What are we considering? Your nutrition, that you're doing this on a budget, that you need to keep it exciting, and also that you don't have so much time to do this. So how can you ensure that you achieve all this? We've shared a lot of tips, even as we speak to Mama Kebobo. She is a chef, and I love the fact that she actually redefines your everyday Kenyan meals. But before we get to the next meal, first of all, I'll try my githeri, then we will try out the food that has meat. I'm sure the guys were saying nyama iko wapi inakuja. So remember, we had asked you on that question of the day, what are your favorite Kenyan meals and how do you spice them up? Remember, that hashtag is new normal. We have Kanyambis, who is saying any local food prepared by any lovely African woman iko sawa. All right. Ocharo Matthew says mokimo is my best. Sisoni says ugali na samaki. Why? Okay, clearly that hits a spot for him. Then Vicky says chilled omena Interesting. So that would be the chilled kind, I guess, omena. And we'll talk more about that because omena is also very affordable. Then we have Modela who says fish and ugali plus traditional greens. And Medzamantana says kimanga, it's not spiced. By the way, I need to understand, what's kimanga?
It's a tighter dish where they mash sweet potatoes and some beans. I like to modernize mine by putting some butter in there, a bit of garlic when I'm boiling the sweet potatoes. But yeah, it's basically the two mashed together.
So it's their version of
Omoshenye. Omoshenye, the Luya one, where they also do something similar. Sometimes people use jahe or beans, but then they still mash it with the sweet potatoes.
Interesting. Okay, and Reru says fresh tilapia stew with chili and ugali.
Fish is winning.
I know. Well, keep them coming through. Remember that hashtag is a new normal. And even as we continue with this conversation, I'd like to talk about omena now that we're going into something that has some meat in it. And there are those who would do omena anytime. It is economical. I love omena. It's readily available. How can you play around with that meal?
First of all, I feel like a lot of people hate omena because they don't cook it properly. My number one tip when it comes to omena is boil it in like a ton of water. You see the way you do spaghetti? Boil it in a way that everything that is not supposed to be on the fish is left in the water. Alright, so boil and then you sieve it the way you would fries. So that you're leaving all the sand, everything at the bottom of the sphere. So don't drain, because if you drain, you're still leaving the sand with the fish. So sieve it like you would fries in oil, so that everything else is left in the water. And then now you can like fry it again so that it's crispy, but it's not a must. And then now you can proceed from there by doing your onions, your nyanyas, your spices and everything, and then you put it there and you're ready to go. Because in the boiling, you get rid of the sand and the bitterness. So now you're having like very flavorful omena. Okay, but you can also boil it and then just put it into your onions and your nyanyas and just you can. You can fry it like when you fry it, it gives a bit of a different flavor. By again, I'm saying diversity. You can still do that straight up.
All right, so we are back to that githeri. Remember when we made that nice looking githeri? It's time for me to actually taste it and tell you how that looks like. Just if you are joining us now, what did we have? We had onions, we had the tomato paste that we made earlier, we had our potatoes, we had our carrots, and of course your githeri, and it was now garnished, if you can see the green, and that would be some of the dania. So let's see. My friend, this is when you say chakula koju. This is good.
Taste the potato and see if there's a difference.
Okay, you said that it was going to taste like fries, huh?
Yeah, it should. It does.
It's your usual sauté potato, but it's in your githeri.
Yes.
This is bound to actually make your kids want to eat this because it's like fries that have been mixed with your githeri. This is amazing.
I have another tip when you're doing githeri, not just githeri, any meal that has potatoes like a stew, instead of using thickeners like chemicals, you can just, you see the potatoes, you can just mash a few on the side and then add them back in the stew. Yes. So it's still thick, but you didn't use any chemicals to thicken your stew.
You play around with the raw bananas too, right?
You can, except that the bananas will taste a bit different if they're not supposed to be in the meal.
Yeah.
But if your meal has potatoes already, you see, it's like doing beans. When you're frying your beans, you can take like a cup of the beans you're already frying and blend them into like a thick paste and then put them back in. So you have this bean sauce that is very thick, but you didn't use any thickener.
People, this is good. I'm impressed. So let's move on to the next meal before we end the show.
I'm really trying to embarrass myself over here because I said we can have a meal in 10 minutes when you come from work. So I'm trying to see if we can have, like we talked about doing the tomato paste, the homemade tomato paste, like we've demonstrated, and then you boil your nyama in advance. So that's my third boiled meat. We did like a few weeks ago. And then we have the skuma. So I want to see if in 10 minutes we can serve a meal.
Okay.
So my fire. Okay, so I'm trying to magician.
All right, so 10 minutes from now, count us down so that we see if we can actually pull this off. Because remember, we are looking at ensuring that you use your time wisely and it doesn't stress you up if you're late from work.
So I'm assuming I'm from work. So I've just started. This is for the beef. This is for the skuma.
Okay.
and because the skooma has like less seasoning going into it, you can add a lot of onions to just give them that flavor.
Okay. I guess with the skooma, it's the one thing you cannot pre-package.
Yeah, you can't. I would rather not. You can. You can like put them in hot water for like maybe 2 minutes, then get them out, wait for them to cool down, and then freeze. I like to do that with kienyeji mbogas that need a lot of cooking before you fry them. For skooma, I feel like you can just straight up cook it, so there's no need for that.
So which are these kienyeji ones that you're talking about?
Managu, kunde,
salga.
Yeah, I've never tasted salga, by the way. You need to cook for me.
Something I've done that the chef hasn't done.
Okay. So yeah, mchicha, some of the seeds you can find like really bitter mchicha. So you need to know what you're buying, and then those ones you can prep in advance. You can parboil them and then wait for them to cool down, and then freeze them. They come by me.
I hear you.
And that means just freezing them in portions. Because the one thing you don't want to is having to throw 5 kilos of meat every time you need a few pieces. So when you freeze them in the portions you use, you make sure you don't have to refreeze, because refreezing also exposes you to food poisoning, because you don't want it throwing down, because once the temperatures come down, then it's fair game for the germs and everything else in the air. So you want to freeze what you don't need and only thaw what you're going to use in the moment.
Actually, there's somebody who asked me, at times carrots can also be in season and a lot.
Pickling! See that? So you should try that. Oh, I forgot.
Wait, this is what we're supposed to put on our meals, right? We'll try it with the meat. We'll try
it. It will be like our kachumbari.
Yeah.
And I really like to envision a Kenya where when a neighbor comes, you just show up with a basket full of muffins and pickled jars. Can you make it a thing?
Yeah.
We should make it a thing where I just show up with carrots, pickled cucumbers, pickled zucchini and onions.
And I can tell you this, we just discovered that now that they're ready.
Do you see the color?
Yeah, they are a light pink. And
imagine that on your hot dog.
My palate is like, what is this and why does it taste so good? It really makes a huge difference. And if you're not so big on the kachumbari because the onions are a bit too tangy, this is the way to go. Oh, this is amazing. This for sure is something that I will...
You can take that home. Oh, so if you're lying about it being good, you're stuck with a whole jar.
This is really good. And I'm sure you want to try it out with your githeri.
Even pilau, when you're serving pilau and you don't have time to make kachumbari, like I'm saying, I'm very big on saving time. So you've made your pilau, you don't have time to do your... Do you know, sometimes I make pancake batter and I'm like, shoot, there's something I didn't do and I need to do it right now. I just put it in a baking tray, put it in the oven, 15 minutes I've showered, I come, my cake is ready, and it was supposed to be pancake, and then pieces, baby carries to school, I carry to where I'm going and go. So there are always these things you can do to save time.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, the person who is actually getting the benefits is the producer. She's really enjoying these meals. So this is nice and brown?
Yes. For both. Oh my God, how many minutes do you have? This is for meat. This is for, because of the size of the sphere, I'm going to do the skooma over there.
So what goes first?
For the meat, we're going to add the garlic paste and a little bit of ginger. I like to go easy on ginger because I have a 1-year-old.
Okay.
And you know, ginger can be very
overwhelming.
Yes, it can be. So for the skooma, I don't like to do much to my skooma, honestly.
How about the ginger?
Salt.
We're told that it kind of tones down the bitterness. Is that true?
The skooma?
Ginger, yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Look at you.
Here I am teaching the teacher. I've had that a lot in terms of the greens and especially the traditional ones.
But then if you find skooma too much, then you can just opt for kanzira. It's less skooma. More or less the same thing, but yeah.
Okay,
it's less. Yeah, that is. So this is ready. So I like, when I'm doing with tomatoes, I like to add the tomatoes at this stage and then immediately cover with the skooma and then give it like 3 minutes maximum, and then I mix. But we said we're gonna use a sauce.
Yes.
So we are trying to do that. Let's cover. So 3 minutes of this, we add the sauce mix.
So you don't mix it up at this point, you first let it sit?
Okay, usually. Okay, I might just do that because I'm not adding the tomatoes. What I usually like to do, when you layer them, the tomatoes cook with the onions and then the skooma steam on top of them. So when you're mixing them in 3 minutes, the skoomas are very still, it's just steamed.
They are not mushy.
They're not fried, they're just steamed. And then the nyanyas are fried, and then now you mix. Okay. There is some science to, to that. Our for meat is ready, and I said, guys, for the last time, always spice your food at this point.
The onions,
yes, because you want your spice to go into the mafuta, because mafuta is the one thing that goes into everything in that dish. Yeah, so even when you don't mix, so when you add the spices huko mwisho, they don't cook properly and release the flavors like they should.
Yeah.
So when you fry them, they get, look at how that looks.
Okay.
Now, another thing, whether the meat is boiled or not, the meat always is supposed to go to this mixture so it can fry. You want your meat to taste like it's fried as opposed to just boiled. Yeah. So if you add nyanyas before the beef, then you're just going to end up with boiled beef in your sauce. Okay. As opposed to what? Fried. Because you see, we already boiled the beef. So now we want to give it that fried flavor. So even when you're cooking pilau or anything with meat, meat has to go next when your onions are ready.
I can tell you the room smells so good. The garlic, the ginger. Yeah, just to remind you that we're still in the morning hours of your world.
Our 12 minutes,
but we'll still be appetizing you with what you can put together at home.
I think our skooma is ready. Gladys, our 10 minutes, are we doing badly? Or are we still on track?
No, we're still on track actually. Okay. We're still within our 10 minutes. So how long do you normally cook your skooma?
3 minutes maximum.
3 minutes.
Okay, so here goes nothing. So this is, you remember our tomatoes? Yeah. You're just going to add a bit of that. And Makiu, you need to be careful how much you're adding, because remember, this was like maybe 10 tomatoes blended. So don't go crazy, because even that paste, even if it's 1 spoon, that might be like maybe 4 or 3 tomatoes that you're adding to your meal.
So you might think it looks little, but it's actually concentrated.
Yes, it
is. Cool.
Done.
There we go. So we actually need the plates to plate this, right?
Yeah. I need some sauce on the mama.
I hope somebody is counting us down, because I believe we're still within our 10
I hope so.
minute mark.
And did I run out of water? Okay. Our producer can give us some more water. I need some water, just a little bit. Did we salt the skooma? I'm not even sure.
Yeah?
Did we salt the skooma?
A little bit of it, but I'm also worried that a lot of the salt also went into the
sauce, yeah?
Yeah, the sauce.
Let's try. Again, this is how you taste food. Don't do this and then put it back there.
Okay,
you have the spoon for the sufuria and the spoon for your mouth. But you're right.
There we go. I thought so.
You're right, because the sauce has a lot of salt for the preservative.
Yeah.
Then you make sure you're careful with how much you want this. I need a little bit water for the sauce. Can I get some?
Water for the sauce?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not too
All right. So even as Mama Kebobo gets us some water so that we can give it a little bit of a sauce, remember, these are your everyday meals. So your meat in this case, your skuma or whatever traditional greens that you love to do. We already had a pre-prepared ugali, which we're going to show you how you can plate it and also play around even with the shape so that you can put across a different look and feel every time you plate that meal for your family. Now, it is interesting that even from our feedback, a lot of the ugalis, the traditional veggies, and fish actually has come out as the most favorite. But also, I'd like to hear from those who love githeri. Watu wa githeri mko wapi jameni? And also any Kenyan food that you enjoy out there. We're learning from each other how to play around with it so that it's not boring on a day-to-day. And also very important for those that don't have so much time to be in the kitchen, what do you do with all this in the kitchen and also be part of your family's day-to-day meals? So now we have our kidogo water, people, for flooding food. Don't flood the meat. We're supposed to having a wet fry. Yeah. So
last thing, do you want to serve the ugali?
Okay. So this goes there. Okay. All right. So what do we do with this?
Just unwrap it. People is asking how you get your ugali to look like wheels.
From the hotels, yeah. The ugali looks really pleasant. So, kumbe siri ndio hii. So what you did is just cook the ugali, roll it up and put it in a foil.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so can we use the same? Yeah, here it is. So just cut it into small pieces.
Yeah.
And of course we're using white ugali, which is what most people access. But if you would like to do your brown, Mama Kebobo,
yeah,
this is an option, right?
It is, it is.
Okay. So I shall put some here. I'm not a chef, so you can forgive me in how I'm handling my instruments in the kitchen. All right, so I think that would be enough. This is actually a really cool way of doing it because it now comes back, you know, comes out as small little pieces. Even your kids don't feel like they're overwhelmed with that humongous ugali that you have to serve. And also it kind of feels, quote unquote, gourmet-like. Ugali too.
And again, like you said, when you portion it properly, then the wastage is so far less.
Yes, yes, you have a point. Yes. Okay. So I'm being told I have less than 5 minutes for us to do this. So
we're ready.
Can we serve it?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So how would you please help me out with this? Are you hearing? There's even a moment of silence for the meat. Okay. So, Mama Kebobo,
yes,
this has been such an amazing time of learning how we can play around with our everyday meals, and the fact that we're able to do this in 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes is actually impressive, which proves the fact that you can be able to prepare and be part of your family meals if you pre-prep kwanza. That's very important.
So on a free day, pre-prep as much as you can, freeze safely, and
here you are. So time to taste what we put together. So it is your beef that is fried. She put in even the daniers at the end, your different looking ugali, and of course your skuma. Let's see how this looks like or tastes like.
Ever watched Ratatouille, the movie? You should do that. Well, every bite you take has a bit of ugali, a bit of skuma, and a bit of the sauce and the nyama. So you're getting all the flavors together
at the same time. Is it a patania mbele? This is what I'll point out. I can taste the garlic.
Okay.
But it's not overpowering. The ginger is there, but still not overpowering. I think what we can be careful of is how you salt your
your food when using the sauce.
Yeah, using the sauce, and especially the sauce because it can go over the top if you resalt again.
You have to remember, you have to remember that the sauce has a lot of salt for preservatives. So when you're using it, you have to wait till you've added it to adjust the salt. So don't add the salt earlier on, because then it's gonna be overpowering.
Now there's something I'd like to try. I haven't tried so far. I did it on its own. I want to feel how it feels, especially with the meat. So remember, this is your pickled onions. And these literally can go with anything. Your sandwiches, your githeri, your rice, your meat, your kuku. Let me see how that goes. Wadau. It's a game changer.
It is.
Literally, it is a game changer. Oh, wow. This definitely is a must keep. Pickled onions. And remember, you can pickle your carrots, and you can also pickle your cucumbers,
zucchini, even cabbage.
Oh, really?
You can.
Oh, yeah. How do you do that? Do you grate them? Do you shed it? Do you cut it into pieces?
You can even do them whole. Like, what do they call it? The sucrete? Yeah, there's a German word for it. But yeah, you can shred it and still the same process. But then now this time you can add your spices if you want. Like I said, this is the basic. I share the most basic way of pickling things. Like sometimes I do the onions and then I add some, let's say, peppercorns. That's black pepper. Sometimes I'll add like full garlics in there for that flavor. So don't be limited to that. From there you can add any other flavor you like. Do you like ginger? Do you like, garlic, pepper? What are these? Chili flakes. You can add chili flakes in there. Just get creative. But that's the most basic one.
So now for the cabbages, you don't cook, you'll also serve it just as I had the pickled onions.
Yes, and
this is interesting.
It's very good for your gut to have the pickled cabbage.
All
very
right.
Good. And it's just amazing too.
And I can tell you, for those that cannot stand cabbage, because I don't know what high school did to us, most of us don't like cabbage, that would be a better way of eating it if these pickled onions are anything to go by.
They are.
Oh, wow. So even as we bring this conversation to a close, remember I told you 2 hours will go by very fast.
Oh my God, we wanted to even do biryani, but
I know. This is what we're able to achieve, but at least we're able to touch on meals that are very familiar to Kenyans.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you want to just reiterate again in as far as looking out for your nutrition, looking out for your budget, and also it needs to be spiced up, it needs to be exciting, and of course we're doing this on the go. Yeah.
I'd like to say that when you prep in your mind in advance, like for example when you're cooking and then you start with, let's say, the ugali, and then you do the beef, and then you do the skuma, that's like a whole hour gone. If you think about it in your head and start with what takes more time on one side and the two that don't take a lot of time on one side, then you're balancing off the time, as opposed to starting with what takes too long and then go again with what takes another again too long. If you have like 2 jikos like this, you can always like now do your water here when you're doing the nyama here, and then by the time you're done with the ugali, the skuma goes in, so you save a lot of time. But like I'm insisting on this, if you can meal prep in advance, it saves you a lot of time, because it's not just for working moms. Even stay-at-home moms are busy. They're busy at home. You have a kid who's crying and you need to make the meal. So when you have time, meal prep, do the garlic, do the ginger, boil the meat in advance, freeze it, do the, like we're saying, the vegetables, the greens, the traditional ones. Pack them in advance, put them in the freezer. When you're ready to cook, you just throw them properly and make a meal.
And tomato paste.
And tomato paste.
Oh, that is such a great hack.
A lot of time, saves you a lot of money. I mean, if they're in season and you have like a whole bucket of them, you could use these for months without having to buy tomatoes.
And also when we're thinking about the plating, the excitement of the plate, what should we keep in mind? Because that makes a difference.
It does. I would say go buy the cutters, the cookie cutters. They're very cheap. They're all shapes and sizes. Some elephants, like some giraffe, like some love hearts, stars, so many. Have your kids help with the things. Like you see, this ugali, if I had Bobo over here, should be cutting it in all different types of shapes. If it's love hearts today, if it's stars tomorrow, such small things make kids, make kids very excited to eat. And also when you involve them in the process, because then they know, oh my God, I worked on this beef, I better enjoy it. But if they're not part of your kitchen and cooking life, they kind of feel like it's something so out there. And also involve them in the decision making on what are we having today. Because if you want to have ugali, like you said, you love ugali, I hate ugali. If I was your child,
you would have a problem.
This would not work. So let them feel appreciated and let them feel involved in the food and cooking journey. Let them understand why we're having brown bread and not white bread. Such small things make a difference.
And also why we're having githeri more often than not now.
Absolutely.
If they actually learn how or what happens,
people will credit them.
And they can make a difference also in what is on their plate. Mama Kebobo, thank you so much. This was such a learning point. I am better as a mother, and definitely I'm going to be using these tips even in my own home, and I'm sure a lot of us will be borrowing a few. I know Jane for the pickled onions, she's in. And thank you very, my friend. I've never had something like that. So Mama Kebobo, again, thank you. She is a chef. She was hosting us in her kitchen here in Kiambu County. And remember, it was all about sprucing your everyday meals on the go. So check your nutrition, your budget, ensure it's something exciting, and of course you can make it in chop time. My name is Gladys Gachanja. This has been Your World. Until next time, see you. My friend Viel.
Oh,